What's up, guys? Neil Orford here to talk a little underdog NFL best ball. I'm going to be talking about some late round running backs here. Some running backs that I like, some running backs that I don't like in the later rounds. While you're coming in, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You might not have subscribed to this one, but this is going to be on the NFL channel. A lot of people have not subscribed to it. We are bringing it back this year. So subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and hit that notification button so you can get alerts when our shows go live. This show is sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. And if you don't know, if you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, you can get your first deposit matched up to $100 on Underdog Fantasy using promo code Stochastic12. So do that if you have not yet done so. First deposit matched up to $100. That means you put $100 in there, you can enter Best Ball Mania for 8 times. It's $25 per entry. You're taking a shot at $15 million prize pool there. $3 million to first in the playoff contest, $1 million if you lead the regular season. A lot of great prizes, cool structure there for Best Ball Mania 4. But if you don't want to just play 8 entries for $25 a piece, they've got regular puppy drafts. They're going to be $5 a piece. Sometimes I think puppy 2 was $150,000 a first. So still huge prize pools across the board on Underdog. Check it out if you haven't already. Use promo code Stochastic12 when you sign up, or the link in the description of this video. You are going to be matched up to $100 there. All right, so what I'm going to talk about in this particular video is late round running backs. And I'm going to start by talking about 3 running backs who I don't like, who you have to draft in the first 15 rounds of the draft. So all of them have ADPs that are within the first 15 rounds of the draft, and 3 running backs who I would rather draft than those 3 who you can draft in the final 3 rounds of the draft based on ADP. Obviously not every draft, but based on ADP, I like these late round guys better than the guys you have to take in the first 15 rounds. I'll talk about those 6 backs here. Again, I'm going to do 3 running backs I don't want to draft, I have not been drafting, and 3 that I have been drafting. I'm going to mix them in, starting with somebody that I am not drafting a ton of so far this year. That's Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins. He has an ADP of 167.7. And I just don't love it. It's not a knock against his talent with Mostert. He's a talented back. He averaged 5.4 yards per carry so far in his career. That's really impressive, including 4.9 yards per carry in 2022. But he has been injury prone his entire career. And now he's 31 years old. That's pretty old for an NFL running back. The Dolphins also had the second fewest rush attempts in the entire NFL in 2022. And Jeff Wilson joined the Dolphins for the second half of 2022. Then they spent a 3rd round pick on Devin Achane, and even worse, there are rumors that the Dolphins are trying to sign former Vikings running back Dalvin Cook. Just not a great scenario. Best case scenario for Mostert is that he is the lead back in a running back by committee backfield, despite being past his prime, but that's certainly not the likeliest scenario for the Dolphins. I just don't love it. I would rather draft Jeff Wilson with an ADP of 187.4. Obviously, a lot of the negatives that I talked about there with Mostert apply to Jeff Wilson as well. He's in the same messy backfield on a team that doesn't run a lot. Similar injury concerns for Jeff Wilson. However, Wilson is more than 3 years younger than Mostert. And after joining the Dolphins last year, Wilson averaged more than 10 rushing attempts and 3 targets per game. Most importantly, though, even though the younger Wilson probably has a higher ceiling and floor than Mostert, is that you can draft him 20 spots later than Mostert. That's important. Those 20 spots are significant, as the other players available at pick 167 tend to have a lot more upside than the players who are going to be available at pick 187. So I'd rather just pick the later draft. They're pretty similar, honestly, for me. But Wilson is younger, and you get him 20 picks later. I'd rather just hold off and draft Wilson rather than Mostert. All right, back to another running back who I'm not drafting at all so far this year, and that is Ezekiel Elliott with an ADP of 176.2. Zeke's value has always been reliant on volume. And in the past, you've been able to count on that volume from Zeke, somewhat shockingly at times. Last year, for example, Zeke averaged just 3.8 yards per carry, while teammate Tony Pollard averaged 5.2 yards per carry in the same backfield. Still, he rushed the ball 231 times, seemingly at the order of owner Jerry Jones. Seems to really like Zeke. But finally, now he's been released by the Cowboys. He's only 27, but Elliott has 1,881 carries under his belt in his career. To put that in perspective, it's over 400 more carries than Todd Gurley had in his career before he stopped playing in 2022, looking washed. Did you know Gurley is only a year older than Zeke? Those carries add up quickly. It's likely that Zeke plays this year, but very unlikely that he's given a significant role. Maybe he gets some run if the lead back gets hurt wherever he signs, but even if he does, the upside is limited by his athleticism at this point. I'd rather take my shot on late round backs who don't need crazy volume to pay off their ADP. For example, I like Cordarrelle Patterson at ADP of 210.4. Obviously, the situation is not ideal for Patterson in Atlanta. Tyler Algier was really efficient. He was very good last year. And now they drafted the phenom Bijan Robinson in the first round of the draft, but there's still plenty to like about CPAT. Patterson averaged 4.8 yards per carry last year. And even with Algier around, he rushed for 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. He won't have as big a role in the rushing game this year. I think that's just about guaranteed. But rumor has it that CPAT should be more involved as a pass catcher this year. How much? Nobody knows. The Falcons have phenoms Drake London and Kyle Pitts on the team as well, but Patterson has shown talent, and as recently as 2021, he caught 52 passes for 548 yards and 5 touchdowns. It's hard to predict exactly how Patterson will get his production this year. The path to significant opportunity is murky, but I'm willing to bet on the talent in the last round of the draft. I think that Patterson is a good bet to have at least a few spike weeks, and that's really all you need at an ADP of 210.4. Another back that I'm just not drafting this year is Devin Singletary. And this one, it's a little, you have to draft him a little bit earlier on. Devin Singletary has an ADP of 155. Singletary averaged 4.6 yards per carry last year on the Bills, which is not bad. But Damian Harris also averaged 4.4 yards per carry, and James Cook averaged 5.7. So maybe it wasn't Singletary. Maybe it's easier to run when you've got an uber talented dual threat quarterback on your team. Singletary moved from one of the best offenses in the league to one of the worst on the Texans. He's not expected to even be the lead back this year, as Dameon Pierce was impressive as a rookie last year. The Texans had the third fewest rushing attempts in the league last year, and we shouldn't really expect those attempts to rise much this year, as the team is still not expected to win many games, and they'll generally be playing from behind. So again, best case scenario for Singletary as a fantasy asset is Dameon Pierce gets hurt and you're left with a mediocre back on a bad offense that doesn't run much. I'll pass, and instead I'll go with Gus Edwards at ADP of 190.1. Edwards has averaged 5 yards per rushing attempt in his career. That might be because of the strong Ravens offense, similar to what Devin Singletary had when he was on the Bills, but I don't really care because Edwards is still on that Ravens offense. Edwards is the number 2 back in the offense, but it's a bit of a committee. So he should be able to put up some big games, even if lead back J.K. Dobbins is active every game. J.K. Dobbins, though, has been a bit injury prone so far in his career, and he's also unhappy with his contract situation. So there's at least some chance that he holds out. I'm on the Gus bus because worst case scenario, he's the RB2 in a committee on a great offense. And if for any reason Dobbins does miss time, Edwards will have some huge spike week potential. So there you have it. Those are 3 backs that I'm not drafting in the late rounds, 3 backs that I would prefer to draft even later than the 3 that I don't like. Again, if you haven't yet signed up for Underdog, use the promo code Stochastic12. Use the link in the description of this video. You can get your first deposit matched up to $100. Check it out if you haven't already. Thanks a lot for watching. Good luck this year.